Hello everybody, welcome to Speed Gaming 5 for another game of the A Link to the Past Randomizer tournament. We are now in the round of 16 and the first game between asazas and Ninban. I'm Julian Berlin and I'm joined today in the commentary with Koi. Hello Koi.
Hello, how you doing? So yeah, not only is this the first game between these guys, this is actually the first game of the entire round of 16. These two players have got their stuff together and they are just pushing ahead, trying to race to the finish line. Both very prolific names, having very decisive victories in their run of 32 matches. Hoping for a real good match between these guys today. And we're off to the races, both with a Sanctuary start, getting that small key.
Interesting start. I'm rather used to seeing people start at the uncle. And we get the map check and we get 3 crystals in the light world. That's gonna be interesting when we get later in the dark world.
There's a lot of different philosophies, I guess, about the early routing strategies for Rando. And in my experience, in the long run, like it very rarely makes a difference. Like everybody pretty much always says Kakariko, always says South Shore, always checks the uncle. So the order in which you do them is like little time saves and losses here and there. So we see Ninban, he goes up to check the tree pole, but does not continue on to Lumberjack. So as we'll be seeing this. Just 20 rupees, though. You know, and short-sightedness, it looks like Azaz just lost like 20 seconds or something checking that. But in actuality, Ninban's probably going to go check it later and just gain that time back. So not a big difference there.
Yeah, there are a few different philosophies here. Some runners like to check that first when they've got the boots and access to Aga. Some others want to get that off their mind straight from the beginning, or maybe be afraid for the first part of the game. Depends on what's fair on the ledge. But yeah, not that much money at the beginning, and we see at the uncle some bombs, so that's going to be more useful for Ninban. He'll be able then to check. He won't have to buy bombs at the village. But it seems to go to Eastern.
Yeah, this is a very, very early Sahasrah's play. I doubt he's going to go into Eastern Palace itself. This is probably just for Sahasrah's hut. This is very much an anti-meta kind of play, like because people do try to avoid these locations until they have that bow for Eastern Palace. So coming over here early and you find something nice like the boots, you have a pretty good advantage. And the risk, though, is just, you know, having to walk here again later when you do find that bow. Azaz opting to gamble for some bombs here in Blind's hideout. First 3 chests, not helpful, and it just a sword. So he's going to have to double dip this for that last chest. He does have enough rupees to buy bombs, though. So no risk on doing this in the well as well.
Yeah, this right now, not having any bombs for Kakariko is why I personally prefer to first check the uncle, check the escape sequence, or at least what's available, just to hope that I either get already money or at best bombs before I go there, because otherwise it's just back and forth, or gambling, okay, if I go to the hideout, do I find bombs? If not, do I commit then to the well? Let's see, Zazaz now taking the safety. And let's see what the rest of Kakariko has to offer us.
Yeah, that's like the main benefit from doing an uncle start is just getting a few extra locations for bombs. But you often see players who don't normally do the uncle start because they think their opponent's doing it right. And it just becomes, well, I don't want them to find something good and then I miss it for a long time. There's a lot of metagaming, especially in these 1v1 matches. As so far with the superior route, even though he will be double dipping Blind's hideout, nothing goes over into Sahasrah's hut, and Ninban having to walk over to Kakariko twice. Nice boomerang. Always need one of those.
Boomerang is my favorite let's say, weapon of a game when I don't have any real weapon in order to stun enemies and be able to still go through some dangerous areas. But with already one sword, it's not that useful. Maybe later if I check the mountain and Paradox Cave, but otherwise. So far, not that much stuff inside Kakariko's village.
And Ninban didn't find any bombs in either of those two dense locations. Gonna go have to buy some anyway. Well, as it says, double checks blindside out here for this last chest, which was also not helpful. So when all's said and done, they end up pretty close to each other. Ninban just a check behind here. I'm really worried about this early book. Early book is often meaning early desert, but you do not want to go there at this point.
Yeah, if desert doesn't have any progression, that's such a time loss with all walking, waiting for the cutscene of the book. But did asazas skip the library as well as the race game?
Yes, he did. Not a terribly uncommon gamble, especially with the way his Kakariko route ended up. Like, he finished his last Kakariko check at the top of the village instead of at the bottom. He'll have other opportunities to go check those locations, though. So as long as it's not something crucial for Dark World access on the race game, he'll be fine. Ninban going to show us that now, going for the check before grabbing the item. Sometimes you see players do this blind, especially if Kakariko was empty. But good call here, just 20 rupees up on that race game, and Azaz is going to be okay. As long as he doesn't walk into crabs twice. They hurt!
Yeah, we know that it's gonna be okay because we saw there was nothing there, but depending on where the progression is or where the lack of progression is, that might stay in the back of his mind. And if he later has, for example, let's say an Agina check or something else, well, I think I don't need to finish that sentence because they got some progression now. Some extra areas to
the
check.
Moon Pearl's nice and all, but like the Moon Pearl's one of those items where you just expect to have found it at some point. Like, it's not something you're ever really looking for. But the flippers are kind of a dangerous item at this point in the game. Like, they do not have enough rupees for Zora, and with the flippers and no gloves or boots means they can't do Houlihan. So this creates those like really uncomfortable situations where it's, I think there's probably something that's going to be flipper locked, but if I go check it, I can't do Zora. And what if it's Zora? Just more bombs on that hobo. Azaz probably swimming over to Ice Rod Cave here, and then he'll have to make a decision on whether or not to go to the Zora area. Personally, I'm a big believer in front of escape in this situation, especially with that small key in Sanctuary, putting the boom chest and Zelda cell in logic.
Yeah, and also with the sword, although I don't think the game expects you necessarily to have a sword because you're able normally to buy bombs, and I think the escape is logically set as, yeah, you can do it with bombs, so buy them and do it. It's not tied to any item.
Yeah, the sword's not a telling item for those locations, but it is a helpful one.
Azazas, have to be careful. Oh god, that was really risky from him.
Crabs hurt. Ninban actually heading over to Gina's Cave, routing this in a completely opposite direction. Gonna orphan Ice Rock Cave a little bit. He can grab it with the flipper checks later, though. Just a heart container there. And as it says, does not continue on to the regular flipper checks. Oh, Ninban's going into desert? What? This is a big play.
It's quite interesting because it cannot finish it as of now because you need the fire source anyway. It needs also the gloves. So I think it's banking on just a map or compass being on the torch and then being able
Yeah.
to get the 2 items.
Yeah, it's definitely not an unlikely call that there's going to be progression here in Desert with that early book, but it is still a dangerous call because who's to say the boots aren't just sitting somewhere, right, giving you access to more of Desert. Well, it's not immediately boots locked, so good news for Ninban. As it says, finding blue mail, which is nice. Not super impactful though. Power Glove in Desert Palace. Gross. A little bit of French vanilla, yeah.
Apropos French, for any people that would like to also watch this game or this match in French, we have also Speed Gaming Français that is showing and commenting this game in French.
Are you French?
I am. And I also
your name
on the...
is confusing because it says Berlin.
Yeah, well, I'm a French guy that's living in Germany. I like to confuse people.
I was born in California and live in Texas, so basically the same thing. Basically.
Let's stick to the basics. Okay, otherwise Agina having only some bombs, so currently escape, or at least back of escape, should be our next progression point.
Ninban not opting to go immediately to back of escape here, headed over to the flipper checks, it looks like. It's a little surprising to see him do this. Oh, nice sword sitting there on the island. I guess I missed that before. With the glove, he does have access to Houlihan now, which would give him that 500 count for Zora. So probably saving quitting from Hobo. Nice 8 slashes there from Azaz, and he picks up just a heart container. Front of escape. Not paying off today. Ninban's not saving and quitting. I'm concerned. This is concerning.
For an opening game of the round of 16, this is as anti-meta as possible.
Yeah, this is a bit surprising to see him coming over here. I think he hasn't done Ice Rod Cave yet, so he'll probably do that first, hoping for rupees. Maybe he'll pen save and quit. Nope, not even doing Ice Rod Cave. Straight to the Zora area. It's just surprising because with the gloves, he can get the rupees he needs for Zora, and if he doesn't get enough rupees here in Waterfall Ferry, he's orphaning Zora pretty hard. It's some rupees, but not quite enough.
It will be interesting to see what item is on Zora's Ledge, but at the same time, I wonder what Azazaz is going to do. I think, yeah, it seems like he's going to Deep Eastern. And
yeah, this isn't surprising at all. The Desert, while Desert does look good, it looks bad, It looked like just some arrows on Zora Ledge, for those that might have missed it. As it says, definitely maneuvering around those cannonballs to get our first check in Eastern Palace. Just a compass. Ninban walking out of Ice Rock Cave. I'm not sure what his play here is.
And as you pointed out earlier, it's strange that he's not even farming for rupees, because it was just right here there was a position for him to farm some rupees. Would have been able to check Zora just after that. Interesting.
Oh, he was going for the Whirlpool. I understand now. So this is probably check check Lumberjack here, and then maybe either go up to the old man or just walk over to the escape.
So meanwhile on Azaza's screen we saw a bottle. So now we've got a far away check on the line as well with a sick kid. This early seed is making our runners walk quite a lot.
Yeah, pretty uncomfortable items so far. The main concern right now is Zora for Ninban. Like, he will last location Zora if Zora is locking his Dark World access. Most likely it's nothing. Like, I don't know, like, you find flippers early, it sometimes means progression on flippers early, but typically means more likely to be like Swamp or Ice. Just because of the sheer amount of checks locked by it there. Oh, there's his Zora money right there. And as finishing up Eastern Palace, but finds the vanilla Vic, he has to go for one more chest. Never mind. Ninban, don't die. Okay, you're good.
Yep, so now progression, I think it has to be back of escape. There aren't many places left. Zora or... basically Zora or back of escape, or did I miss something?
It's a kid. I think that's it though. Azazaz actually going straight after this sick kid play. Not too surprising here. Azazaz walking over to sick kid. Like he really wants to make that Eastern dive worth it, and the only thing he found there was that bottle. And not having seen the race game in the library, this ends up being a little convenient for him. Ninban finding that Dark World access though, Mitts in the back of escape was the answer. Required dip into Desert Palace without anything.
Yeah, so basically this seed is getting longer and longer. So walking distance aren't getting any better because now they're currently only Dark World access point is the furthest away. Only one Dark World access point. And well, with the flippers we've got access to the eastern side of Dark World. But they can only go from the left side. That's gonna be some walking. And I mean, Zora could still have the hammer, for example.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Mitt's Dark World access is probably like the least comfortable way to get Dark World access. Even more so than Aga, because at least with Aga, like you're very restricted on where you can go. But with Mitts, you can go everywhere. You just have to go there really, really slowly.
Okay, and we had a map check from Ninban of the Dark World, and our pendants are Pod, Swamp Palace, and Misery Maya.
Azazaz also opting to gamble on finding some rupees here in Waterfall Ferry. Also going to be orphaning Zora just like Ninban did before him. Although he hasn't been to Desert yet, so Houlihan definitely wasn't an option. Just 10 arrows, not Zora Ledge. Azazaz has no choice. Time to go Desert. Ninban picking up boots. And
we're gonna go
house.
fast now.
Yeah, unfortunately, the boots, like pretty much anything you're gonna find except for the hammer, are like nice but not nice at the same time here. Like, yeah, we got the boots, we move fast, it's good, but now the boots checks are in logic. but I'm in the dark world, and I can't get to the light world without saving and quitting, so it's going to be a while before I actually look at him. And I think the big key in Desert was on the torch, too. So potentially a second item locked behind the boots there.
Yeah, I think he'll exhaust other options before going back to Desert, because as long as he doesn't have any fire source, just going to Desert to just check the big chest, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
Especially
no,
with
it's
now.
He'll put it off for as long as he can, but it is possible the fire source, the only fire source, is just in Desert, just like the gloves were.
That would be bad.
Or worst case scenario, it's an item that leads to your only fire source, and it required triple dip of Desert.
Well, let's hope for runners that they'll find something good later in the Dark World, for example in the Hype Cave, because what we are currently planning for them isn't good at all, and I wouldn't like to run myself such seed.
So Ninban, interestingly, going to the back of Thieves Town here, he does not have the hammer, so if there's anything locked in that big chest, he will have to leave it behind. We have not found the small key yet, so, ooh, no, down to 1 heart. That's not good. Playing a little safe here, making sure these crickets don't get him. Nice heart drop there, make things a little more comfortable, although pretty much everything here does 2 hearts of damage. Asazas does get his glove. Oh, Ninban getting the bad RNG on the Patrick Star. Having to walk out and reset the room.
I think given his current heart count, it's quite convenient that Ninban got the Kind of Burner, and I think we'll see it in use against against Blind.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice item to have in your back pocket if things do go awry. The blind script is very, very nice, though, if you can pull it off. It's anything but a small key. Hey, no small key. That's awesome. Ninban will not have to worry about that big chest today. It is just a small key inside.
That's, as of now, the only nice thing the seed has done to our runners.
As picks up his Dark World access, and he's headed over to the Village of Outcasts, just like Ninban before him. So really just that Eastern Palace tip, the difference between them right now.
And that was a really, really nice scripted blind fight from Ninban. Didn't get it once, and got his first crystal at 22 and something minutes.
Oh, Azaz with the route divergence here, heading into front of Skull Woods instead of straight down into Village of Outcasts. Pretty common play, especially in a hammerless situation like they have right now. It always feels wrong to skip any location when you don't have the hammer yet, just because of how powerful of an item it is when it comes to routing. Azaz headed to the middle of Skullwoods first, looking for a small key, which he does find in the vanilla big key chest there. This is to prevent a possible softlock scenario where you're forced to save and quit because you don't have enough small keys in the front.
And meanwhile, we see Ninban doing an old favorite, the Frog World Tour. Haven't seen that one in a long time.
Nice unique item on Stumpy though. Yeah, picking up the frog is, you know, it's a gamble in and of itself because he's going to be forced to turn in the frog before he can go do anything else. But with mitts and boots, it's not that big of a time loss to have to walk back over to Village of Outcasts. And he could route it on his way up to Skullwoods, where Azazas is now. Although Azazas hasn't found anything, just some keys and a big key so far. Ninban finds the mirror here in Hype Cave. That'll make his routing a little nicer. Now he can just backtrack with the mirror and do the Smith sequence that way.
Yeah, also found the Cane of Samaria. So that's nice, but currently doesn't unlock anything for him. It's more convenience for dungeons like Pod, but Pod is a pendant. Also quite convenient for Skullwoods in order to avoid juggling the Gyptos. But yeah, that mirror is gonna... Let's hope it brings us some progression.
Found us another sword. Now we have two swords that we've seen but can't grab. One on Hylia Island and one on the Bumper Cave. Although I guess Ninban can grab the sword on Hylia Island now. And as finally making his way to Village of Outcasts, picking up his booty boots. Gotta go fast. Does Smith have anything for us? Come on, buddy. We saved your life, showed you the world. You gotta give us something. Just
Best I can do is $20.
And it cost you 10 rupees to get it. 100% profit.
I mean, it's not worse than getting a 20 from Zora. At least, as you said, you got some profit out of it.
Looks like Ninban's headed north with his purple chest. He can't take it inside Skullwoods, but he can just leave it outside and walk back again to pick it up. And with no fire rod, there's no risk of losing the purple chest here. I guess, well, he can take it inside if he falls down the hole with it, but like I was saying before, like, you don't want to fall down the hole in V31 anymore. Very dangerous play. Yeah, he'll be able to take this purple chest all the way over to Bonkrok's King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge as well before he turns it in. Maybe swim over to Catfish with it as well.
And maybe he'll drop also a pet check on the way, since he's in Skullwoods.
Yeah, I think pet check's something that is definitely on the table, but probably not from these runners today. Ped is fairly unlikely on the whole, right? Like, it's just like 2% or something chance. So going out of your way to see if Ped's required is typically a time loss. I know I personally try not to even think about Ped until I have the items to full clear 3 pendants. And we're ways away from that. No bow, no hammer, no lamp, no hookshot, no flute, no medallions. Wait, Azazas has a quick medallion? Where was that?
Quick medallion was in the escape sequence, I think.
Ah, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely something that could end up being impactful later. The escape is not a place you typically think of as a very good time-efficient play, especially the later in the seed you get. So one kind of negative factor of Ninban's routing here is it's going to end up orphaning Bombo's tablet a little bit hard. He'll have an opportunity to grab it on his way into Swamp Palace, but Swamp's a pendant and locked behind the hammer, so no telling if that's ever going to happen. He could have like swam over and grabbed the sword when he still had the smith with him, and then saved and quit and done all of this starting from the light world again.
Yeah, currently with only the fighter sword, I think checking the wall stuff that would only be information only.
No, yeah, but there was a sword on Hylia Island.
Yeah, indeed, yes.
To answer chat, yes, you absolutely can do the current jump with the purple chest following you around, although he won't need to do that because he does have the flippers if he opts to go over to Catfish. As it says, also opting to go and full clear Thieves Town, finding out that there is just a small key in that big chest. So always a good feeling when you make that play, because leaving an item behind in Thieves Town is very scary. Ninban finishing up his checks, and he finds Hookshot in King's Tomb. This opens up quite a bit of stuff. Just new, not logically. Did he lose his purple chest?
Yep,
he did.
He lost his purple chest.
Oh no, that's not good.
Yeah, if anything's inside the purple chest, that's gonna be a huge time loss for Ninban, having to go back and get it again.
Yeah, you do have to make sure the purple chest is actually following you before you return to the Dark World there. But it looks like we will probably get to see Zora here. Or what? I mean, if he doesn't check Zora here, he's never checking Zora.
He's got the money, he's next to it, he's got the mirror. Yeah. Oh!
Oh, Flute's a nice pickup though. And that puts those hookshot lock locations up on Death Mountain in logic now.
And depending on the medallion, it would also put Mr. Meyer almost in logic. I think we would still need a fire source for the later part, but they could in theory dip Mr. Meyer, and that's not a nice spot. Oh, another medallion.
Unique item on Zora that both players could have got earlier. Ninban making a good play here to pick it up now. Could be required medallion for one of these dungeons, or even for getting through Ice Palace.
Yep, Ice Palace is now in full logic, right?
Yeah.
Oh well, no, hammer. The hammer is needed at some point.
I mean, you can get inside.
We can enter it
and check like half of it. Wouldn't be the first seed where I found hammer and Ice Palace. I think it's looking pretty good for Hammer over here on Death Mountain, though. This is a lot of checks that he's able to get to, both Light World and Dark World accessible. And Tower of Terror, for that matter. And while Tower of Terror can be fire-locked with the hookshot, we can do the Hera Pot to sequence break it. As long as there's nothing in that big chest. Oh,
well, your wish came true.
Hi,
it
Hammer.
Could be on the mountain. Boom. Here it is, straight away. So
right.
now they can
now we can clear swamp, right? Clearly, that's the play.
Full clear swamp, full clear Ice Palace. But yeah, Swamp being a pendant, it's not the one dungeon you want to think about.
Looks like Azaz also opted not to grab the sword on Hylia Island. I'm a little surprised with this because I'm pretty sure they both saw it there. Overall, I think the routing would have ended up a little nicer if they had took the smith with them to go pick up the sword, and then saved and quit back to the light world, and just re-enter the Dark World of Village of Outcasts for these other checks. And it is Bombos for Turtle Rock. Zora required.
Yes, depending on the routing that Azaz will take, I wonder when he will do Zorato. And Ninban is choosing to dip Turtle Rock. That's interesting.
And it looks like Purple Chest was the cape, which indeed locks a sword for our runners. As making a big play there to get that. While they will be able to get a Master Sword from Hylia Island either way, having a Tempered Sword advantage for this much of the seed will be a huge difference maker for Azaz. Azaz checking Bonk Rocks on his way back to Village of Outcasts. Probably going after the Booch checks next, along with Graveyard Ledge, where he will find the hook shot, but no telling if he's going to continue on to Catfish, which does have that required flute, and leads into the Zora check, which has the required bombos.
That's a lot of ifs in that sentence.
Yeah, it's just the hookshot's such a nice item. Like, it's really tempting when you find the hookshot, say, hey, you know what? I can nearly full clear the mountain. Let's just go sequence break that. And not even worry about what's on Catfish and Zora.
I'd expect them to do something like this if they were looking for progression inside a pendant dungeon. But when going on overworld checks like this, and I think they've got their routing quite anchored in their head. Okay, I check this, then that, then that. They don't want to leave these checks alone, because after it will be only a longer time loss if you have to go back. But what would you do? Would you have then jump straight away to the mountain, or kept on with the checks?
I would keep on. Well, okay, so to be fair, I wouldn't have forgotten Zora. I absolutely would have hooliganed before going to the Flover checks and gotten the Zora item already. But I would definitely have continued on to Catfish here. My rule with Catfish is just do it the first time it's even like a little bit convenient. Ninban going after this Harapot here. He does get it. Takes him a few tries, though. I believe he did find the big key, so this is mostly just for a quicker way up to the top of the tower. That was a really tight dash turn there. Ninban almost getting knocked off by the bubble. Alright, Azaz getting his hookshot here. We'll see if he continues on to Catfish and Zora. Meanwhile, Ninban starting his Moldorm fight. Everybody's favorite boss. Caterpie, why? Okay, this is good news. Azaz will be continuing on to Catfish, finding those two progression items. Well, Ninban gets knocked off. Caterpie is a jerk.
And living up to his name, Trolldom is gonna troll. So at this point, after having cleared the mountain, where do you think Ninban is going to go? Do you think he'll go straight for Ice Palace? Or where else would you have to go actually? Checking
So,
maybe
like,
the activity of the flute?
Yeah, the rule is, you go full clear crystal dungeons when you can full clear them, right? But I mean, Ice Palace sucks, and especially with this equipment set, even at Runners of this caliber, Cold Stare's a slow fight with just the hammer. And then he knows that there's a sword like sitting on Hylia Island, and it's really awkward to go grab it because he doesn't have to enter the Dark World to get to Ice Palace itself. I think, yeah, probably check the Mire locations real quick before heading over to Ice Palace. Ninban being a bit thorough here, grabbing Spike Cape, but this is in logic with that Cane of Burna. Nice dashes. Those dashes are not easy to do. You have to very carefully time the dashes for them not to be interrupted by the damage.
I've tried to do it myself, and I think I maybe managed to do it once, but otherwise I always end up just staying in the same place and just then dying to the spikes.
It's super annoying in like the 100% NMG route, because you have exactly enough hearts where if you do the dashes right, you don't have to grab a fairy. So you feel like, man, I must really be bad at this game if I have to grab a fairy. So despite finding their flutes so far apart, they're activating them pretty much at the same time.
Yeah, so now the big question, where will Ninban go? Mire or... Okay, first Sick Kid, yeah. But then Mire or Ice Palace?
There's a fairly not terrible route he could do where he does like Pyramid and Pyramid Fairy on his way to the sword on Hylia Island. And then you could just jump off the island and go to Ice Palace. Opting to check these overworld locations first. I doubt he goes into Mire though, even if it is Bombos. And it's Quake today. It's possibly required Quake in the escape that Ninban didn't grab. Nothing in Mire's shed. Gonna go. Oh, and Desert's checking the big chest. I see.
Well, with the flute now, it's really easy for him to check that. I also just realized now, if I'm not mistaken, Ninban has gotten both 5 and 6 crystals, so we also have the Pyramid Fairy, which would be in logic.
Yeah, so like one route he could do is enter the Dark World south of Link's house, and then walk up, grab the bomb, check Pyramid and Pyramid Fairy together, and depending on if he finds anything there, he can go then south down to the lake again, grab the sword on his way into Crystal Ice Palace. And then he could do Ice Palace and have the Master Sword at the same time. Mire area looking pretty empty. He can even run in front of Escape with that, just mirroring to it from the pyramid. Really comes down to how much overworld he really wants to do.
Yeah, but as you said, with the current setup, Ice Palace, no matter how much experience you have, it's still Ice Palace.
Yeah.
That's the one dungeon.
No matter
I'd
what.
rather I would rather do pendant dungeons to try to find progression instead of going to Ice Palace.
Yeah, I think no matter what, you grab that sword before going there, because Master Sword will make a big difference over the Fighter Sword for that dungeon. But it looks like he will be headed up to the pyramid. Tries to go for this damage boosted dash here. Does miss it. Oh, as poking Moldorm. Never a good idea. Does safely kill him though. And we get a bomb dupe from Ninban. So the idea here is he wants to transition the screen right as the timer hits 0. Early is fine because you can just keep transitioning until it hits 0. Late means you lose the bomb and have to go back and spend another 100 rupees. Well, it looks like we're not going to find out what's on the pyramid, but it did look like it was nothing. He didn't go over to grab it.
And Pyramid Ferry didn't have anything worthwhile as well. So 3 bombs, and from Ninban's menuing I didn't see any other items. And Ninban choosing not to go to the escape sequence.
Or even to grab the sword on Hylia Island. Gonna grab potions first. He can always go re-enter that portal though, like just go north from Link's house. Maybe he doesn't know about the sword on Hylia Island. Because he's going straight to Ice Palace with the Fighter Sword. This is awkward, because there's a sword like right there. I think swords are going to be a major theme in this seed, because Asazas definitely knows about the Hylia sword and already has the Bumper Cave sword. I'm a little concerned. But swords and the Quake Medallion.
Yep, and it's going to be a really interesting Cold Stare fight. I don't think I need to say anything else.
I mean, he's
Fighter Sword,
definitely
Hammer, Bombos, Cold Stare fight. Whoa.
Yeah.
And now I understand
this
why.
Is the round of 16, though, right? Like these are the 16 best players in the scene right now. So it's definitely not something he's scared to do, but that doesn't mean he wants to do it. Little Executioner is taking hearts away. Definitely not looking great. The bar is just being real mean today. Yeah, down to 2.5 hearts already.
Good thing he bought the potions.
Killing the little bobs, hoping to find some heart drops. Yeah, you can see how being on low hearts has changed the dungeon considerably. Like, typically you just walk through that big spike there and take a heart of damage, but Ninban's already so low on life, he can't even risk it anymore. Having to play it safe, losing a bit of time. Like you said, he does have the blue potion, so like he's probably not going to die in the dungeon, but I feel like he'd probably really like to save that potion for the Cold Stare fight itself.
Yeah, or at least after having finish the areas of the dungeon where he needs to use bombos. So basically the room on top of the big key chest. Because bombos uses quite some magic, and he definitely wants to have some available in order to break the hull, of course, there.
Asazas also going after this Pyramid Fairy play, but will he continue on and grab that sword at Hylia Island before this dive? Tempered Sword versus Fighter Sword Cold Stare. It's gonna be night and day. Oh, Fire Rod and Ice Palace locked behind bombos. Where have I seen this before? Every scene. It's every scene, that's where I've seen it before.
So, and if Ninban doesn't check the Lake Alia Highland, does that mean that after seeing a Fighter Sword Cold Stare, we might also see a Fighter Sword Mothula?
Yeah, pretty likely. Mothula is definitely the place to go following this. Just one item, but you get that pet check real easy, and one more item in a crystal dungeon. Azazaz headed south, gonna get that sword. This is a very important pickup. Azazaz with the weaker Light World route, enters the Dark World quite a bit behind Ninban with that Eastern Palace tip. But he gets out of it. He gets the Ice Belt at the same time as Ninban, but 2 swords and a Quake Medallion ahead.
But with Fire Rod being found now, and with his blue potion, I think it will be way easier for Ninban. He's just gonna spam. Oh no. Okay, I thought he was about to spam the third. Yeah, now he's gonna do it.
He was going for the spin to keep them all grouped up for longer so the Fire Rod hits like all of them at once. Unfortunately missing it and actually taking a bump from Cold Stare, who does hit quite like a truck.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Ninban is still on green mail as well. So...
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, so 4 hearts from a bump. It hurts.
Yep, that's gonna be quite the fight. And when Azazas comes to Cold Stare, we'll see then what a difference a quality sword makes in the fight.
Alright, so Ninban makes it through the Cold Stare fight. A little worse for wear, but otherwise alive. And like we were saying before, I think straight to Skull Woods is the play here. What? Seriously? Pod? Really? Okay. This is a play. This is definitely a play.
Yep. I mean, we said anti-meta at the beginning of the seed, but now it's just getting almost absurd in the way Ninban is playing totally differently from what we would expect. But,
yeah, it's
currently...
such an unusual play. It's like he just got the Fire Rod. Like, there's the only downside to going to Skull Woods right now is like you have to do Fighter Sword Mothula, but he just did Fighter Sword Cold Stare, so it's like he's afraid of low percent fights.
Especially since he also has the money and the flute, so we can simply go to the witch, buy another potion to be able to spam his Fire Rod. But that's... I mean, it doesn't have a bow, it doesn't have a lamp. Although with the fire rod, it's now in logic, I guess. The dark rooms are in logic, but it's still really strange.
So to answer a question in chat, why do people put on the brakes before dropping Kiki off at pod? So that's actually called the Kiki dash. Kiki follows you at his like normal speed when you're dashing, but as soon as you stop dashing, he speeds up to catch up to you. So if you stop dashing right before the cutoff point, he'll catch up to you and you save a few frames opening up pod. Wait. What? What? Did Ninban skip iced tea?
Oh
No.
god. No.
No, he
Please
did not. Did he really?
Or maybe he screen froze at that moment and he's got it. And that would explain a lot more his pot play or
I mean,
his pot play.
I guess.
We need,
Does he have the vote? Open your menu.
open
Ninban.
the menu, please. Open the menu.
Okay, I guess we just missed him picking up the bow. That does make a lot more sense why he goes over here, you're right. I mean, skipping IC isn't like the weirdest thing I've ever seen someone do. Especially after finding like the fire rod in there, you feel pretty good about skipping it. But I think he must have grabbed it, right? And you'll be able to see here the difference between their two cold stare fights. This is going to be fairly quick for asazas compared to what Ninban had. Quick tempered spin, get them all together, and a few slashes. And oh look, they're dead.
Okay, so now the moment of truth on Ninban's side. Let's see if he's got the bow.
He either menus to the bow or he leaves the dungeon, right? Okay, menu. Menu. There! Okay, he does have the bow. Confirmed! We now know for sure Ninban did not skip iced tea.
I can only imagine him skipping iced tea, him skipping the sword, and also not having done escape, how different his routing and his playstyle would be from asazas, as well as his chances of winning the race.
Yeah, the seed looks way different for Ninban.
Ninban going for the quick kill here, and well set up.
Alright, Ninban picking up his Eastern Palace crystal, making 4 for the day, but still sitting on that fighter sword. Yeah, given his routing so far, I have to assume that he just either doesn't know or had forgot about the island sword, and is unfortunately losing the purple chest means he's pretty far away from getting that other sword on Bumper Cave. Like, when do you ever go do purple chest now, right? Like, he won't even think about doing it until he's ready to go into Swamp Palace.
And currently, as far as go mode is concerned, I think we are now only looking for the ice rod, right?
Yeah, pretty typical. covers about 80% of every seed I've ever played, Ice Rod Go mode. Oh, just barely missing the 1 cycle there for asazas. One more spin does it. And asazas picking up his own 4th crystal, albeit a different one than Ninban's. Neither glove was lamp locked. The lamp can still be anywhere up to and including Mimic Cave. And the cake was on Purple Chest, which Ninban unfortunately released into the wild. Alright, and as making the play I thought Ninban would have made before we found out he had that bow, headed into Skullwoods here to get another crystal and one more item.
It's also quite interesting to notice the difference of philosophy between both runners, with asazas first completing the dungeons he dipped already, while Ninban is going to totally new dungeons. I think asazas might be hoping to find the ice rod behind one of his 2 dungeons, and then he would be able to go mode pod. Oh, we just saw the ice rod on Ninban's screen. We are in no mode now.
Well, there you go.
We are in no mode.
Just sitting there in the back of pod. So this is kind of a difference maker, absolutely. If there's just a sword in the way, Ninban absolutely could have the advantage right now. Or if he just, spontaneously remembers to do Hylia Island at some point. The Quake Medallion not going to be a difference maker this seed, unfortunately for asazas. The thing is, asazas' route right now, it's pretty set in stone, right? He's just going to go to the Crystal Dungeons, and when he runs out of Crystal Dungeons he can full clear, you go to Turtle Rock and hope that the ice rod's on the way. It shouldn't take him too long to go to Pod, because Pod is one of the more dense locations you can go. But very likely a double dip of TR in his future.
It looks like Ninban might have remembered about the sword.
Alright, this is really good news for him then. This will put him in go mode.
Alright, and Ninban is now at 1 hour 3 minutes in go mode.
Absolutely. So obviously the lamp is required logically, but we have a fire rod. What good is a lamp? Kind of a big play there for Ninban to go into Pod then, if he knew he was just Ice Rod from go mode. Even more than that, big play for him to go to Cold Stare when he knew there was a sword right there. Maybe he forgot about it and just remembered after Pod.
Either that, or he made some calculations like, yeah, I could get the sword now, but I will lose 15 seconds. Nah, who needs swords anyway?
Well, he ends up doing that anyway, right? Like the way he grabbed the sword now wasn't any faster than grabbing it on the way to ice. Kind of burning through some of his magic there before even getting to the fight.
And I think asazas won't be far behind Ninban, or might even get the lead, because he's right now in his turn, and as soon as he's finished with his turn, the most logical play for him would be to play to go into pod then, because he's got no transit time. And
No, I still feel like that's contrary to what he should do. Like, the standard play in this situation is to not go into pod and to just hope that the ice rod's in Turtle Rock. But both of these runners have shown us that they're willing to go beyond the meta routing and instead, you know, just play the game their own way. So maybe we will see pod dive after all. Did he come here in the Dark World?
I'm not sure anymore. I think we'll see.
I think he came here in the Light World, which you know, is saying, like, I'm not going to pod. Yeah, no portal.
Yeah, he came Light World, so yeah, if he now floats to 1, yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very logical play for asazas. It's actually kind of likely to find the ice rod in Turtle Rock. I mean, I've played a lot of seeds, and I never feel bad about this. Like, the ice rod's usually just in Turtle Rock. Unfortunately for him, it's not going to be there today. But, you know, when he finishes Turtle Rock, he will be able to save his mirror portal at the very least. So we'll probably see him do pod before Swamp to continue saving that mirror portal, where he just finds the ice rod and then climbs back up the mountain again. But it does look like Ninban will likely have an advantage entering GT here, provided there isn't any major execution errors. And it's just going to be up to that sword advantage. Will that be enough to close that gap?
How many spins do you need on Silverless against Ganon with Master Sword? 16?
It has 12, 12, 4, and 24. So that's a number. Somebody do the math.
Anybody in chat willing to do the maths?
Okay,
It's too late for me in Europe.
12 and 12 is 24. And then you add another 24, so 48. And then with the 4, so 52. That's a lot of spins. And with Lampless, that means you're going to have to do a Fire Rod phase 4 there. So he'll definitely need a magic.
Ninban needs to be careful here.
That's what the potions are for.
Yep. It's not even using the Fire Rod. It's interesting. Well, didn't need it anyway, apparently.
I mean, asazas won't necessarily go to pod right after TR, but I do think that's his best play. Like, of all the things he has available, pod is the one that sucks the least. So as long as he doesn't try to get cute, you know, and like go do something silly, he should be fine.
Yeah, Swamp has got also a lot of items, but it's really long to go through it. Misery Maya, well, don't want to say anything about that. Pod would be really the fastest way to get the most items possible, or the most probabilities of getting an item.
So Ninban has bought a lot of potions and used a lot of potions this seed, and remember, this is currently one of the top 16 players in the scene today. And it really goes to show that using potions doesn't mean you're bad at the game. It's actually pretty much a skill of the game to know when you should or should not buy potions, and then using them when it would save you from a death. So if you're a newer runner or even an experienced runner who dies on Hammer Trinex sometimes, think about how you're spending your money when you're buying potions, when you're not buying potions. Ninban has saved a lot of time by wasting time at the potion shop today. Alright, Ninban entering Turtle Rock before Asazas has finished it. But this will be a go mode TR for Ninban. God, I'm really worried about Asazas here. Like, if he saves the portal and then immediately goes to pod, finds the ice rod in the back, like, he should be entering GT not that far behind. Definitely close enough where GT big key routing could make the difference. But everything's contingent on his decision making after finishing Laser Bridge here. Who knows? Maybe he just goes to Swamp and it was all a moot seed anyway, and then just wins by a mile.
No, not Swamp. Don't go to Swamp.
So the main factor for why he's probably going to go to Pod before Swamp, though, is not the items, because there is more items in Swamp, but the mirror portal itself. So not having killed Aga 1 means that when we save and quit from the Dark World, it always puts us in the Light World. Or if we save and continue as well. So what he's going to do here is mirror outside Laser Bridge and then flute away to somewhere else. And then when he wants to re-enter the Light World to go to the mountain, he can save his portal by, instead of saving and quitting, just dying somewhere and choosing to save and continue. And that will maintain that portal outside Laser Bridge, and he won't have to go all the way through the dungeon. But mirroring anywhere else, like entering Swamp, will destroy that opportunity, and he'll have to go all the way through the dungeon again. Alright, where are you going, Azaz? We're going pod!
And it's the pod play. We still have a race.
Okay, well, this is a race. This is definitely a race, because Azaz will find his ice rod here, and he will be able to save his portal and get back to Trinex very, very quickly. Ninban's still ahead, you guys. So don't be mistaken. Ninban's still ahead, but Azaz has a chance with Ganesar big key routing and a sword advantage.
One thing that would help Ninban stay in front of a race would be to find the 4th sword early in GT. Otherwise, Azaz will keep on knowing a few seconds of advantage left and right.
Yeah,
and,
I think
the Ganon's fight
is
gonna be huge different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if there's a sword on the way, then Ninban has a very, very clear advantage. Like, there isn't a big difference between Tempered and Butter. Oh, Ninban, unfortunately, fallen off his platform there, having to redo this room. And we are a little bit lost. Okay, he's back on track now. That's pretty big, losing his potion. Like, that potion is very important to him. Master Sword Silverless without the lamp, you want that potion.
And also the Trinex fight with Master Sword. He's gonna have to use the hammer then, but having a shorter, smaller hitbox won't make the fight easier. And he's still on green mail. Asazas the whole time on blue mail.
Trinex
it's not very
should go
different
okay.
Asazas.
Like this, he's in a situation now where as long as he just doesn't screw up Trinex, he's fine on magic. Like, you don't need that much magic if with the hammer. But like, just a couple of missed rod shots and suddenly you're really hurting for magic.
He seems to be quite confident, didn't take the safety exit.
I feel like Hammer Trinex is one of the first lower percent fights that you learn when you start playing this game. Because unlike Mothula and Cold Stare, there's a lot less RNG reaction to the fight, and it's mostly just learning these small movements to get close enough to hit him with the hammer without actually walking into him. Should just be 2 rod shots per head, and he has 8 shots to work with.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the 7th crystal dungeon, right? And
That
we're
is
near
correct.
the end. Is there anything happening soon?
Do you want me to do the command? I can do the command.
Sure.
Alright, you hype it up, and I'll do the command.
Alright, so Ninban is about to finish Trinex and will get his 7th crystal, which means that we'll have access to the GT, to the Guidance Tower. And there's one small game we'd like to play here, and it is to find the GT big key. There are 22 chests where it can be hidden, so when my co-commentator Koi puts the command in chat, spam a number from 1 to 22 where you think the key will be.
Not yet. Hang on, let me put the command in.
Please wait for the crystals to have been gathered, and then we'll go. So Koi, what's your number?
You know, I honestly don't care what it is. As long as they go the same route. I don't want to see somebody lose or win by Ganon Tower big key routing. That always feels so bad. So I guess one would be nice. Oh, it says save and quits from pod. No. He lost his portal. He has to go all the way through TR now.
Yep. So
that's
gonna give a lead to Ninban.
Oh no! I think he meant to save it but forgot. Oh, that is a huge mistake. So if he had saved the portal, he would be jumping down to the safety bridge right now and just entering Laser Bridge. But instead, he has to re-enter the Dark World and walk all the way through the dungeon once more. That is a very, very significant time loss.
So an Ninban going straight left side. Ooh, a Ninban just found the silvers, so that's gonna make the fight maybe
that
easier.
cuts a lot. It cuts a lot of as a sword advantage. Like, he still has a sword advantage, so he'll have a faster phase 1 and 2. But the difference between their phase 3s or phase 4s will not be significant anymore. I mean, at this point, like, Azaz like needs to have a huge time save through Gansar big key routing, or for Ninban to make a very large execution mistake, like running out of magic, which is not unlikely. He did have to use his blue potion in Turtle Rock. You're counting, right?
I thought you were.
What? No, I'm doing the commands. You... Oh my god.
Don't worry, we've got the tracker. We've got the third X that's also following with us, so we'll get the numbers. Don't worry, people.
Alright, chat's saying he's done with 11 now. It should be Torch plus Stealth plus Room is 5, Hope Room makes 7, and then Compass Room makes 11. So this is number 12 coming up here in Double Firebar. Just a map. Super awesome boomerang strats here. I love these. It's so slick.
Yeah, it's not unusual to see a well-experienced runner still have to do 2 or 3 tries to get that one through. Ninban practices boomerang.
Number 13? Number 13 in Fire Snakes. Okay. I can count. I went to preschool.
So for just the Runda room, 14 and number 15. Number 15 is the big key.
Are we sure it was 15? I put it in. Congratulations, Dark/88. You are smarter than everybody else. Congrats on your 26 points. Ninban headed up the gauntlet before Azazaz even enters. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be real tough for Azazaz to make up this time. He has to have Ninban make a huge mistake. Like spending a minute in Mimics 2. Oh no! Okay, there he goes. He's fine.
Now with Ninban having found the silvers, the biggest concern we had for him for the Ganon's fight, and that would be the magic, it's gone. Because he would need the magic with Fire Rod only for the 4th phase. And
he'll also need to make sure he saves some magic for the torches after Lambo too. He needs 4 Fire Rod shots to do that first Torches room, and there's only 2 small magics in the room, so he'll need to get there with at least 2 shots left of magic. Azazaz also picking up those silver arrows. And he will be continuing down left side here, so at least save some time. Get into this big key.
yeah, that is going to be a really tight Ganon's fight. Perfect Landmo 2 from Ninban.
Very
Quick
nice.
kill. Yep. Round of 16. We can expect such execution.
Alright, so he currently has 7 shots. He'll use up one of them for these 2 Samaria casts, but he should be getting to these Torches room with plenty of magic. Just, don't miss with the Fire Rod.
Meanwhile, Asazas is about to get his big key.
Yeah, he's got Tempered and Silvers. No reason to even bother opening those other 2 chests. Ninban, however, is still on that Master Sword. He'd love to find a sword up here. Opening chests is going to cost him a bit of time that Azaz will not be spending. Azaz still plenty of time to have to make up here, though. Ninban has a pretty comfortable lead, even with the sword disadvantage. No falls to Moldor. That's good. And no sword in the top of GT. Master Sword Silvers it is.
I hope for Ninban that he practiced his Master Sword guidance as of late. Asazas is really on his trail, and with Tempered is going really smoothly through the gauntlet. Nice triple.
And that does it for Ganon's Tower. Ninban headed on to his Ganon fight, Azaz in the back half of this gauntlet, trying his best to catch up. Oh, Ninban opting to try for this Samaria strat here, where he puts on a block and does double spins off of it, which is deceptively difficult. Unfortunately, doesn't get it right away and instead walks into Ganon himself.
Yeah, and with Ninban still being on Green Mail, that hurts a lot. Think how many hearts of damage does it do? 6?
On Green Mail, walking into Ganon is 8 hearts. And then I think the Trident does 4. Yep, it does 4, as we just found out. Yeah, a little risky for him to use magic at this point of the fight. Yep, there goes the second fairy. Ooh. Because although he does have silvers, he does have to use the Fire Rod to light the torch in phase 4. And if you miss that torch glitch, it costs a lot of magic, even with silvers. Oh, he has a blue. He had a second blue this whole time? He must have found it on the way.
I think he found it in Ganon's Tower.
Okay, that's pretty big then. I'm pretty sure he only had 1 bottle at some point.
And Azazas is himself about to jump into the Ganon's fight, so this is going to get really close.
And there goes Ninban's blue potion as he starts phase 3 here. This will be a much different story, these first two phases for Asazas. That Tempered Sword makes a huge difference. Going for the 1-1, gets the Trident spin. Quick spin and some slashes here. Immediately faces to the second phase. One cycle for phase 1, one cycle for phase 2. Could not have been better. It's fantastic.
And meanwhile, Ninban got the glitch, so he'll be safe on his magic.
Just 4 silver arrows here. Oh, this is so close. 4 Asazas. Alright, the absolute hardest part of Master Sword Silvers is not doing silverless spins. The muscle memory is so strong. And just like that, Ninban taking the first race between these guys in this best of 3. He finishes first place with a time of 1:30.06. Asazas very close behind. And Asazas finishes in second place with a time of 1:30.30. So less than 30 seconds between these guys after all was said and done. Oh man, if he just hadn't saved and quit out of pod. I feel so bad.
we saw there the difference between Tempered and Master Sword. Crazy. and we're joined by Ninban. Hello, GG.
Thank you. Hello.
That was a clutch race.
Yeah, no safety.
So I feel like having watched the seed, it feels like you were trying your best to throw, but didn't quite manage it.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
It got pretty close there at the end. Asazas turned out to be a little better at that part of the game than you were, and managed to throw just a little
I think
harder.
Asazas is better at every part of the game.
So
I think I lucked out.
The big difference maker at the end here was Asazas. He didn't go into pod before being in Ice Rod Go mode like you would. So he went to Turtle Rock first, and he was able to save his portal, went immediately to pod, immediately found the Ice Rod, and then saved and quit, and lost his portal. Had he not done that, that would have been a difference maker for sure.
Oh yeah, he would have made up all the time, easily.
It's hard to like blame a loss on like one thing that happened, because you guys were playing the seed for 90 minutes and there's like 15 million different things that could have made up 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there.
Yeah.
For instance, not losing your purple chest.
Oh god, that purple chest.
It was Kate leading to the sword on Bumper Cave.
Yeah, I knew about the sword. But man, losing the purple chest after doing so many efforts to keep it, it was really annoying.
And we're also joined by Asazas.
The hitbox to get the purple chest to follow you is so finicky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Losing it almost at the end like this is annoying.
And welcome Asazas, GG, see you as well. Very close finish there at the end.
Hey, hello. Thank you.
Hey,
and,
GG's man.
Yeah, GG's, congrats on the win. And then I have a very serious question to make.
Okay.
So, how do you actually the fake or not the
portal save?
The portal save thing, because I've never done it, and I feel it would have been useful here.
The only things that kill your portal are saving and quitting, or creating a new portal. So in order to save the portal in that situation, you would have had to walk outside of pod and die. So like walk into a ropa a bunch of times, and then when you get the death screen, to choose save and continue, and that'll put you back at the light world, but with your portal still up on the mountain.
That's genius. That's clever. Yeah, I didn't know how to do it, actually. Like, I knew it existed, but I have never found myself in the situation of using it or see it used.
Yeah, it's fairly uncommon.
Yeah, it would have saved me maybe a couple of minutes here. Also, I didn't really know which ledge to jump off in Death Mountain, so
It's
I
the one
mean,
right
yeah.
next to Spiral.
All right, that's good information. Maybe
That
if it's coming.
would have been if you did save the portal, but just hop down the wrong ledge.
I was going to, because I first thought it was the second from the right. But there's 4 ledges, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know this game. Let's cut me some slack.
So one thing I've learned in my years of playing this game is that everyone is actually pretty terrible at it, and it's just a degree of how terrible people are. Even like our world record holders, they kind of suck. They're just better than everyone else, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, by comparison.
No, definitely a very interesting seed. Ninban, unfortunately, your stream was kind of choppy at times, and
Yeah, it's
there was
always
this
like
point
that.
where you were doing Ice Palace, and you find the fire rod, and then we're like, okay, so now he's probably going to go to Desert and Skull Woods, and you go to Pod, and we're like, why would he do that? That makes no sense. And we didn't know until Azazaz found it, but the bow was an iced tea.
Yeah.
So there was like no explanation for why you would choose to go to Pod in this situation. Like, is he crazy? Is he just gambling? What is this? Oh, he just has a bow. Oh, obviously.
Yeah, and even then, I entered Pod and I mismarked it on my tracker. I thought it was a crystal. So I entered it, I did the first chest, and I'm like, wait, the music isn't the crystal music. So I exited out and I checked the map again. Then I decided to do Eastern first, then after that just Ice Hot from Go mode, so I went into Pod anyway to try to find my Ice Hot.
Yeah, it definitely ended up being the right call, although it was a pretty dangerous one to make, being on Ice Rock Go mode, because it might have just been in TR as Azazaz gambled on.
Yeah, because I felt the early routing couldn't have been worse for me. I felt kind of behind, so yeah, it was just kind of play. If it is in TR, maybe win. If it's not, then I'll definitely lose. Or maybe not. I mean, Ninban could have gambled Ice Rod in TR as well. Who knows? But yeah, it didn't really pay off, and yeah, in the end, it was much closer than I had anticipated.
Having the sword advantage definitely helped. Ninban was on Master Sword during Ganon, which stemmed from a very, very small but significant mistake where he accidentally ditched his purple chest at King's Tomb. And so ended up not finding the cape, and which led to that sword up on Bumper Cave. Although, speaking of swords, I wanted to ask you, Ninban, were you aware of the sword on Hylia Island the whole time? Because we were super expecting you to grab that before Ice Palace.
Yes, I was aware because I saw it when I went to the Hobo. At some point, I don't really remember. I think it was before going that mountain even. But I saw it. I didn't decide to get it before Ice. Maybe I should have. But I was confident on my Fighter Sword Cold Stare, which went pretty bad anyway. So maybe I should have.
Neither of you did this, but it's easier for me to make this call because I'm not actually playing the game or having to make decisions. But after finding the mirror in Hype Cave, I would have expected you guys to go get the sword right then and there, and then just save and quit back to Sanctuary and do the Smith sequence from that side. It does make Cave 45 a little more awkward to grab, I guess. But I'll take the sword I know over the Cave 45 I don't, I guess.
And for my side, I think it's just that the sword wasn't progression at that point. So, if I found another sword before that, then no time lost from getting it.
Yeah, absolutely. There might have just been 3 swords and
I wanted more progression than swords at that point as well.
Sure. Wow, 148 collection for Azazaz and 149 for Ninban. Very tight.
I actually won in game time. That counts, right?
Pretty sure. So this was only game 1. You guys are playing a best of 3, so at least one more race, and I believe you guys have that scheduled not that long from now, right? maybe an hour
Yeah,
and a
for
half?
us it starts in half an hour. For the host team, it will be in 50 minutes.
50 minutes. Okay. So that should be on this same channel, I believe.
Yes.
So if
and
you guys are wanting to see
asazas
that.
shows standard for game 2.
Standard. Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Do you have a reasoning for that, or just you like standard?
I just like it. Like the thing that annoys me most from open is that early routing is kind of complex. I kind of don't get it. So with standard, rando basically starts like when you finish the rescue sequence, and yeah, that's like the light world has less decisions or less possible decisions to make. So that's what I like about standard, easier early routing.
Yeah, definitely would have been a little bit of a difference maker in this seed. You did front of a skateboard. Ninban never went there. So that you did find the Quake medallion there, but it ended up not being required for anything this seed. So just, another example of a location that could have completely swung the race in the other direction, right?
I mean, at this point, you can expect anything.
Yeah.
Races can swing back and forth, and
Yeah,
Just-
especially as we get deeper and deeper in this tournament. Everybody's so close in execution and routing. So I kind of been talking the whole time. Did you have any questions, Julian?
I had some, but they've been already asked. So
Oh, my bad. Just talk
Sorry.
over me, man. Just say, Koi, shut up.
no, I might be French, but I'm not that rude. Okay. No, just GG to both runners. A really nice showcase for the first game of the round of 16, and a game that also shows really what a difference a sword can make. Because as an Ninban, you came into GT with about 4.5 minutes difference, and at the end there were only like 20 seconds difference, 25 seconds at the SRL time. I think that shows also for everybody in the stream how some items can make the difference.
Yeah, the sword advantage did save quite a lot of time. Just not quite enough for Azaz to take it.
And I think the blue mail from Asazas also helped a lot. If Ninban had the blue mail, he wouldn't have bought so many potions, I think.
Yeah, blue mail was on the uncle or near the uncle.
Oh, I
if you were
see.
curious, Ninban. It's pretty uncommon. You don't get that many seeds, or you never go to the uncle even.
Yeah. So
I'm a little surprised you didn't do it when you mirrored at Pyramid Fairy. Honestly,
I just didn't think about it, and I knew, like, I know Asazas has way better execution than me, and so I knew that to win this, I had to make some decisions, and one of those was to skip escape, at least for a while, and then it went into a definite skip of escape because I still had plenty of good locations to get to. So this was a conscious risk for me, at least.
well, it worked out in the end. You take game 1, but I think Azaz is going to have something to say about it in this next series here.
Well, I won't get to skip escape this time.
Just pro tip, you guys, make sure you practice your bomb strats. I'm really hoping for a bomb start in this standard seed coming up.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping to.
That's always my favorite.
All right, so I head up to the Fantrust team interview. They want me to. So thank you all for commentating and everything, all the behind the scenes.
Our pleasure.
You know, the things I always say every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It must have been fun, and see you in like 45 minutes.
Yeah, GG again. See you in like 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
GG's to both runners, and So while we wrap it up, guys, make sure that you give our wonderful tracker a follow. That is the Third X. He did a fantastic job, even with Ninban's stream being a little bit laggy. As well as myself and my co-commentator, Julian Berlin. We love commentating for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll leave it up to my co-com, Julian, for the final words.
It was nice with you, Koi. A really interesting seed, and think the race on Speed Gaming 2 is still running between Pika Pals and Eyeless. Otherwise, in 45 minutes, this channel will be live again for the game number 2, and I really look forward to it. So, again, it was great commentating with you, Koi, and see you next time.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.